About budgeting as a self-employed music teacher part 2. So if you missed part 1 from yesterday, you can go check out my YouTube channel and find part 1, or it's housed in the new music teacher support and community group. So if you're already watching from there, awesome. Just go scroll a little bit from yesterday, and I'll be putting both in a separate guide section so that they are always available for people to be able to find, along with today's tax prep event, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So if you are like, wait a second, this is part 2 and I missed part 1, don't worry. It's still around. If you're watching in the future, you can go watch part 1. If you're watching in the future and not live, you might want to go watch part 1 and then watch part 2. But anyway, let's get on with it because I have so much to tell you about. So yesterday, we talked about budgeting as a self-employed music teacher because a lot of people want to be working for themselves as music teachers, but they don't necessarily feel like they know how to do the money part of it, right? Because let's face it, most of us creative people who are making music and love making, art aren't always the best at money stuff. And that's actually interesting where I come in because I love the money stuff. If you've ever heard of different types of people, I'm the nerd, my husband's the free spirit. Both are good. It's just that I like the number crunching. I'm not good at memorizing numbers, but I love actually making the numbers all work out. So, all that to say, budgeting as a self-employed music teacher can feel really overwhelming for most people. And I've found after talking to other music teachers who taught public school like I did, that it's one of the things that holds them back from actually stepping away and doing their own freelance stuff, which is kind of sad because it's totally something you can learn about and totally something that you can navigate and learn about and then take steps to actually make happen if that's what you really want. If that's not what you want, no big deal. But if that's something you want, I'm here for you. All right. So here are the steps or the tips that I have for part 2 today. Number 1 for part 2. Is that too many numbers? I don't know. Learn about deductions as a business owner. And when I talk about deductions, I'm talking about taxes. When I say the word taxes, you're probably really overwhelmed. That's okay. And that's why you want to learn about the appropriate tax deductions for business owners from somebody who knows what they're talking about. I'm not the person to ask, even though I've learned a lot along the way, because I'm not an expert. But today, a little bit later today, I'm super excited because one of my financial savvy friends, Carrie Fisher, is going to come into the new music teacher support and community group to talk to us about how to find a tax preparer that's good for your family, which is really exciting because not all tax preparers are maybe the best fit for working with self-employed people. You would think that having the letters after their name means that they know all the right things, but unfortunately, I found that that's not the case and that's not always true. So if you want to learn about okay, how do I know the right questions to ask so I get the right kind of people who can teach me about the deductions that I have and help me get those deductions so that I save money on taxes that I didn't need to spend in the first place so that I can make this whole budgeting thing as a self-employed music teacher work, that's for you. So go check out the link in the description of this video if you're not watching from the group. If you are watching from the group, what are you waiting for? The event is later today. So if you have to watch the replay, if you're not available, that's totally cool. Just set your notifications as on or whatever for the group so that you get notified when we actually have the event so you can remember to watch it later. All right. And if you're not in the group and you're watching this later and you're like, oh no, I missed it, don't worry. It's still in the group. We recorded the video so you can watch it later and that will be housed in the guide section forever. So you can check that out on whenever you watch this video. All right. So learn about the tax deductions as a business owner because it's really worth it. It really helps your budget because you're not spending money you don't need to spend because you have deductions. It's awesome. Okay, anyway, moving on is to, and this one is great for people who want to teach private lessons. It can also work in a class setup. I'll tell you more in a minute. Use your private lesson packages to help you with budgeting. Now, let me explain what that means. And I'll explain what it means in the way I do it. So I have multiple different types of lesson packages, and it depends on how you want to set up your studio. Everybody's different. And that's the beauty of it. You are working for yourself. You can choose to do it how you want to. That's awesome, right? So if you choose to, you can offer a semester-long package. So your students or their families pay for their music lessons for the whole semester at once. You can do like a 10-week or a 2-week or not 2-week, 2-month, 10-week, 2-month, whatever type of package you want to do, right? I recommend setting your rate at whatever you want it to be for the big package. This will depend on your area, but let's just do flat numbers because it's easier. Let's pretend you want your rate to be $25 per lesson because that's an easy number to calculate, right? So if you want to do a whole semester's worth of lessons at $25 per lesson, you multiply however many weeks you want in a semester, let's say 14 or 15, by 25, and that's how much you charge for a semester. Okay? Good math, simple math. If you want to offer packages to people who can't pay for that all up front, or some sort of different payment structure, like I do, I offer monthly lessons for people so they can pay for 1 month at a time, but it's going to cost more per lesson. So let's pretend, since we used 25 as an example, maybe they pay $27 per lesson to pay for only 4 at a time. But they also aren't committing for the whole semester. They're committing for a month at a time. So the commitment level is different and the budgeting is different for me, right? Because I'm only receiving their money 1 month at a time versus all up front. Okay. Then I also, and you wouldn't have to offer this, but I also offer lessons at pay for 1 lesson at a time and schedule it as you go. So I charge the most for that type of lesson because it's the least predictable. It's the least commitment from my student and for me, right? But they have to pay a lesson ahead. So making sure that I still value my time. So if they have a no-show, then they have to pay for that before that they come to the next lesson. But let's use our round numbers again because we use 25 for the bigger one, 27 for the medium one, and then let's say 30 or something like that for the per lesson one. Now you can change these numbers based on your area, obviously in your expertise and in your experience. I just use numbers that are easy to calculate. They're round numbers, are easier to think about. But that way, if somebody pays up front for their whole semester of lessons, they get the best price. They're helping me budget because I get paid all up front. So A, I know that they're here for the whole semester or paying for the whole semester at least. B, I get that money security, right? Really, because I'm getting the security of having them for that whole semester. And C, I have them paid for it up front. And so it's a win-win for them because they're paying less per lesson, but it's a win for me because it helps me with my budgeting. So I know that was a bigger explanation, but I hope that makes sense for you. Set your actual rates at whatever the biggest one is, and then you can just have bonuses on top for people who are wanting to pay less, but they're not necessarily able to pay all up front, and that's okay, right? It works for them. It works for me. It's a win-win all around, all right? Most importantly, in the terms of our conversation right now, it really helps with budgeting for your self-employed music teacher. So those are my 2 main tips for today for your tips. Go check out part 1 if you weren't able to watch part 1. I want to let you know I've put all of them along with a couple links to some extra resources that I have already put together. And I was like, oh, I could just link these in a PDF format. So if you're interested in grabbing that, that's in the link in the description of this video. It's the self-employed music teacher budgeting tips PDF or something like that, whatever I named it. So you can go check that out. Grab that. Actually, if you're coming to the tax prep event, you might want to grab that first. Check out some of the links that I embedded in it, and then you'll be super ready for the tax event. And if you print it out, you can even take notes on the back. So I'm so glad that you were able to pop in here with me. If you're watching the replay, you could comment #replay or say hi, whatever you want. But I am going to pop out of here and get myself ready for that event a little bit later today. So have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Bye for now.